Okay, first of all, I would like to thank every presenter from organizing committee. It was a great conference, great talks, and say thank you to all attendees because it was amazing participation, good questions. So this is the last talk, and it's really, we want to put it, you know, to have some discussion here. We'll just start with a few slides to talk about where we are, where we're going, and then fortunately some time to get more feedback from you. For those who doesn't know, I decided to spell out what HDF5 stands for. It's Hierarchical Data Format version 5. Hope you know now. And I will be talking about roadmap. Essentially, roadmap, we have kind of very good idea where we're going in for the rest of this year and next year, because most of what we are doing is focused on the features we're developing for exascale computing project, and our goal is to productize everything and release it in the next major release. So for all release information, you can go to our portal. We provide some Linux, Macs, and Windows binaries and compression plugins that we test regularly with our binaries. If you find that you need something more or you have difficulty, please contact us, we'll help. Right now, we support 3 lines of releases, and this is due to performance problems, especially going to Ellen's talk that we encounter. Simply, many users cannot move from 1.8 to later releases, and we are well aware of this problem, and we're working to reduce the number of releases you see from us. Our latest release is listed here, and we have 1.8, it's imminent any day now. We will have another release of 1.8. One point I would like to attract your attention that we're now shipping our binaries with open source BSD license type zip libraries, so we're not using anymore our library that we supported that has restricted license terms. We're still testing with it, and those libraries are completely compatible, but don't be afraid now to use zip. We're also coming with a new series of so-called unstable releases that will have odd number as the second number, and you see this is 113, and there will be several of them before we release. Next major release will be 1.14.0. So why we talk about unstable releases? First of all, what do we mean under unstable release? APIs are subject to change, a file format may change, and there is no binary compatibility guarantees. But unstable does mean it's buggy. We test it everywhere. We test our development branch everywhere. They will be coming from the development branch. There will be tags on development, but it will be fully tested, released to deliver you as soon as features integrated into development branch. We want to provide you really well-tested software that you can try and use and give us feedback as quickly as possible. So we target our major major maintenance release by late 2022, and so far we are on target with this. Some major changes that are coming in new major release. First of all, to eliminate many warnings and to make it simpler, we assume now modern compilers and systems, and you see this listing here. And memory sanity checks are now off by default when we do releases, but be aware when you're using develop branch directly from the branch and you build it by default, those sanity checks are on, and this is a long-standing problem for for people who create HDF5 plugin filters, because they can be memory mismatch. So make sure if you're using develop branch, you disable those sanity checks. Otherwise, you should be good. But this is a bigger problem that we will need to address in our library, and essentially we shouldn't be using our own memory allocation function, memory managing functions when we're dealing with the users' buffers. We can do whatever with buffers in our library, but we shouldn't touch users' buffers, and this will need some rework in the library. We provide release candidates. Now we have release candidate 6, and it has already several features added. We have new APIs, asynchronous HDF5 APIs, and event set APIs that are needed to support asynchronous wall connector that you heard about. And if you want to know about new wall connector APIs, we had recently a webinar on September 24th where we discussed them. Also, currently we now have pluggable VFDs. I don't think it's in release candidate 6, but it will be in next one. You may try new pluggable VFDs, including GPU VFD when it becomes in public repo. And Suren, I need to ask you when that will happen. Features that are in work. So as soon as we finish those, we are coming with a 1.13.0 release. And biggest thing for us is to bring in changes that were required by cache and async wall, and they are not they didn't make into HDF5 library yet. And we also will be providing an option which will affect NetCDF. It's to some extent. We will be using dimension scales, new references that were introduced in 1.12 releases, and this option will be configurable, so it will not by default affect any NetCDF builds in NetCDF4 library. But this feature will be required if one want to use NetCDF with object stores, because a wall will require usage of new references. We're also introducing H5D walk tool, which allows you to invoke parallel instances of serial tool, and it accepts directory as input arguments. We really would like you, it has kind of limited capabilities, but we would like to get your feedback in which direction we should take the tool, but that will be fully functional with the limitation it has and can be used with any of HDF5 command line tools. And here you see example of the tool that spawns H5 dump on the directory and puts output in the log file. So what will be coming next before we can release next major release? We're working on bringing in changes needed for Swimmer VFD that has full functionality of Swimmer, and at some point will replace our current implementation that is restricted to append raw data only. And also, we have another VFD that we presented at Spring Workshop, Provenance VFD, that really allow you to version HDF5 file like Onion. So this should be productized and put. Neil presented today improvements to I/O path in the library by introducing selection I/O. This will be fully integrated, and this will give a path to more virtual file drivers to implement, for example, parallel access to storage, because those requests now we will be able to parallelize with multiple threads or parallel HTTP requests, whatever driver is doing. And we actively working on subfiling VFD that really the first implementation of subfiling in HDF5, allowing you to have middle ground between putting everything into one shared file, HDF5 shared file, and there's another extreme is having HDF5 file per MPI rank. So that feature is coming, and it's well under development, and it will be in major release. And of course, that performance gap that was brought between 1.8 and even earlier releases and later releases, we need to look how we can optimize the library to offset the overhead that was brought by introduction by the introduction of all new features that you HDF5 users got through the past releases.
Oh, came up for Elena, I think we cannot hear you.
I lost my connection, but I was at the end of my slides, fortunately, and now Floor is, we can start discussion. I think I'm at the end of the slides.
Okay, if anybody has comments or questions, please feel free to.
Oh, no, I was not at the end of the slides, sorry.
Oh, do you have more? Okay.
Yeah, let me once again share quickly the screen. Lori, maybe let me talk just to the slides, and I will, because we are running out of time. So one of the things we really want to refactor our, you saw the picture of library architecture when native wall is a really HDF5 library. There are things in HDF5 library that many connectors will benefit from. For example, yes, thank you, Lori, this is the slide. Will benefit from so-called utility packages like data type conversion, selection, ID handling. This should be extracted, and native will really have to have only to deal with the IO path or whatever it will be. We planning to remove redundant code when time comes, and this is a big job, so we're not carrying two swimmers. And really rewrote code to prevent libraries' bad behavior when reading corrupted data files. You know, we have a lot of CVEs reported, vulnerabilities reported to us because library segfaults if someone intentionally corrupted HDF5 file. This will require some rework in the library. And of course, one of the problems that came here several times, it is performance with the file library and files which are rich in HDF5 metadata. We need to address those two. Next slide, please. And here is the list that comes all the time with kind of on forum or in our help desk, and it was several times emphasized here. HDF5 file robustness, so we're not corrupting data. We need tools like to identify where corruption is and if file can be repaired and how we can, you know, save the data. Support for sparse data, multi-threaded support, full UTF-8 support, and keep developing miscellaneous drivers like memory map driver, read-write, S3. Data streaming comes a lot on top of requests, especially from financial community and experimental community. Efficient handling of variable length data, and performance subsetting. We, for example, users dealing with terabytes of data and just reading every 10th element of this data may be a problem. So we know that we need to improve it. So this is what I have. I encourage you to contribute to our software. It's on GitHub, and we now have documentation in Doxygen. Please, if you see something, just submit pull request. It's you can see documentation in source code now, and it will help us a lot. So thank you again, and this is the end, I believe.
Thank you, Elena. All right, any questions, comments?
Yeah, maybe it's the right moment to talk about this relationship of external links and the VFD, which I'm also mentioned in chat.
Oh, external links and VFDs. I didn't see if Lauren had a chance to reply on what about them.
Yeah, so in theory, I would think an external link is similar to this HDF5 filters. The application would just read a data set and doesn't care how to retrieve it. It shouldn't really know, is it an external link or not? But currently, would need to explicitly set the VFD. So the application would need to check every group, every data set to see, is it an external link or not? And if yes, check which VFD to use for this link to retrieve the data, which is not very satisfying to do. For instance, you could have a normal file which has external links to a split file, or even links to an file in the S3 storage. And somehow it should be transparent to the application to iterate about the file and just open it with a VFD as some kind of property of external link. But currently this property is not stored there, but the application needs to explicitly tell how to open an external link, which file driver to use.
Werner, this is news to me because I know that external links, they're transparent. So if you have an object that it really point by external link to, you just open it as with the same driver as the where that external link resides in, and adherence, yes. Right? So I don't understand the problem.
Well, if the same file driver works for opening the link, then it's all fine. But it's not always the use case that you want to use the external link using the same file driver. For instance, if a link is pointing to a split file, but the main file is not a split file.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, and right. It's inconvenient. You still can set up property on external link how to open it with different driver. Does it work for you? But this is inconvenient. I see why.
Yeah, I think it's you need to open the link using the file access property list.
Right. Now I understand. And essentially, yes, we need to improve because now we do not have an option in HDF5 library to really open transparently to use the driver, appropriate driver. Yes, and this should be improvement. Noted. Thank you.
Yeah, it's similar like if you wrote a file using the split file driver, and to open it, the application needs to know to use a split file driver to open that file.
Right.
It can figure it out on its own.
I mean, we have this auto detect mechanism now, so maybe that's something that can be applied to there as well. I don't know, but.
Yeah, but we have more problems with, especially with opening parallel with MPIO. So yes, external links and opening files require some attention. And we have actually a bug in HDF5 library for parallel or feature, how you explain it. Yes, noted, thank you.
Any other comments? So one quick comment about the calling the odd number releases as unstable. Do you have to call them unstable, or can you call them maybe advanced or?
We're following, I believe GNU has the stable and unstable releases of GCC, right? They have someone had it at some point. So we didn't release it yet. So yes, if we can call it someone, not to scare users, absolutely we can. But it's different from releases with the even number because we still can change public APIs file format. I don't think we will need to change file format after 1.13.0 release. Other features will not require it, but it may change.
Yeah, unstable has. Sorry, go ahead, Albert.
Well, isn't then an odd release just a release candidate? And can we just call it that?
No, so we have, and this is, I can give all presentations on those versioning in HDF5, which was initially mimicked by projects 25 years ago, right, open source. And we had 3 numbers. We never used first number because it was reserved for big format change, like it will be HDF5.6. Since then, format evolves through micro versioning of the objects, and version of the library, a new version of the library knows how to deal with all those. Jerome is hinting me, we may call it experimental. So we're planning after 1.14.0 release to really look at version number, maybe drop the first one. But still, we will need to distinguish between maintenance releases where we put only bug fixes, small extensions to APIs, maybe some performance improvements, but they're always binary compatible. And they are, you can just, and no file format changes are allowed. Versa, releases where we deliver new features, but integration of all features will require file format changes, and we do not, I would say file format extensions, would not want to, have too many of those. So we want to put them together and have another maintenance release with a stable file format.
Yeah, I think experimental or advanced feature release may be better than, or give positive spin than unstable.
Okay, we'll do.
Cool.
Thank you. Mhm.
Any other comments? I think we are slightly over time. And thanks for sticking together.
Mhm.
I have one more. I have a quick question, Elena. This about the CVEs and
Uh-huh.
for the I'm just going to call it the unstable releases. Sorry, until we figure out our new name. For the, if any CVE fixes that we would need to incorporate would go into one of the unstable releases, do you think that might happen? Because that might be a problem for us if, yeah, because our users will get, our users will get scared of the unstable.
Right. No. Until we have maintenance releases, our development process is that, if applicable, because it's not always the case, the change always goes to develop branch first, and then it propagates down the maintenance branches. So if we found that it's the same code, we just tested, we applied to develop, and we propagate to all maintenance branches. So you will not, it will be next maintenance release. And sometimes, as you know, we can provide a patch if it's reasonable.
Right. Okay. And if I can, if I have time, one quick question. This might, Elena, if this is more particular to MathWorks, just let me know. But at one point, so we're on 110.7. At one point, you recommended us moving to 114 when it comes out, which should be later next year, and bypassing 112. Is that still something you would recommend, or you recommend?
Yes, because we hope that we, if we solve performance problems, right, which may not be, so it's still big if, even we're working and looking into it. We would like, as the company, to drop so many maintenance branches, because it's really expensive to support all those branches. Testing, merging, it's a nightmare. I showed you, if you saw yesterday, it's exactly like on this movie, GitHub movie. That's how we experience. So that's why if we achieve our goals, or we will be in this threshold of performance that is acceptable, we will recommend people to move to the latest release. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And this is our goal, to drop 110, 112, so we can move away from so many maintenance branches.
Okay, cool. Anything else to close?
Yeah, so once again, I believe we should say thank you. And I personally would like to thank other organizers, especially Suren and Lori, who did a lot of work, especially Lori. She was carrying all, and Suren, who helped with many, to put together many presentations.
Thank you.
No problem. I really like to meet the members of the community, at least virtually for now with the current situation, but thanks everyone for your participation.
Hope to have an in-person HDF user group meeting soon.
Yes.
Thanks everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.